Theron Ashford stands in the center of his $40 million penthouse and throws $100 bills at a woman who sleeps on subway benches. She looks at the money scattered across the marble floor. Then she does something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Please, before we continue, tell me the time and country you are watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. Theron Ashford didn't get to $47 billion by trusting people. He built his empire on reading intentions, spotting liars, and knowing exactly when someone wanted something from him. And everyone wanted something from him. His ex-wife wanted half. His brother wanted control. His business partners wanted more equity. His children, 3 of them from 2 marriages, wanted his approval and his money, though mostly his money. Trust was a commodity Theron stopped trading in years ago. Tonight he stands in his penthouse overlooking the city, surrounded by art worth more than most people's homes, and he feels nothing. The Rothko on the wall might as well be a blank canvas. The view might as well be a brick wall. He pours himself whiskey that costs $4,000 a bottle and tastes only bitterness. His assistant Lennox told him this morning that the regular cleaning service sent someone new, a replacement. Theron didn't care enough to ask why. He barely noticed the people who cleaned his home, who cooked his food, who pressed his shirts. They were invisible until they made a mistake. But tonight, something is different. The woman who arrives at 8 p.m. doesn't look like the usual crew. She's older, maybe 50, with silver-streaked hair, pulled back in a braid that's coming undone. Her uniform is too big for her thin frame. She carries a bucket and cleaning supplies in a canvas bag that's been repaired multiple times with duct tape. Her name tag says Celestine. Theron watches her from his office as she begins in the hallway. She moves slowly, carefully, like someone who's learned to make every movement count. Her hands shake slightly as she sprays the glass coffee table. He notices a bruise on her wrist, dark purple fading to yellow. "You're the new one," Theron says, stepping into the living room. Celestine jumps, nearly dropping the spray bottle. "Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to disturb you." Her voice is hoarse, barely above a whisper. She doesn't meet his eyes, but Theron recognizes the posture of someone who's learned to make themselves small, to take up as little space as possible. He's seen it before in desperate employees, in servants, in people who need him more than he needs them. It disgusts him how predictable people are. "Do you know who I am?" Theron asks. "Yes, sir. Mr. Ashford." "Do you know what I'm worth?" Celestine hesitates. "No, sir." $47 billion, with a B. Theron walks to the window, hands in his pockets. $47 billion, and I don't trust a single person in my life. Not one. Do you know what that's like? "No, sir." "Everyone wants something. My ex-wife, my kids. My brother tried to steal from me, my own blood. Even the woman I was seeing last year, turns out she was selling stories to the tabloids." He turns to face her. "So I've developed a little test. A way to see what people are really made of." Celestine is silent, still holding the spray bottle, her eyes fixed on the floor. "The agency said you're homeless. Is that true?" Her shoulders tense. I have temporary housing, sir." "That means homeless." Theron walks to his desk, opens a drawer. "They said you sleep in a shelter, sometimes on trains when the shelter's full. They said you take every shift you can get and you're never late, not once in 3 years." "I try my best, sir." "I'm sure you do." Theron pulls out a stack of bills. Fresh hundreds, still bound by the bank wrapper. $10,000. "I want to show you something about human nature, about who we really are when we're desperate." He throws the first bill at her feet. Celestine steps back.
Confused, Theron throws another, and another.
He pulls the wrapper off and lets the bills scatter across the marble floor like autumn leaves, floating and landing in a circle around her. $100 bills, 50 of them, 100 of them, more. Pick them up, Theron says. Celestine doesn't move. Go ahead. It's what you want, isn't it? That's why you're here. That's why everyone's here. He throws more money. Some bills land on her shoes, her shoulders. This is what people do. This is what everyone does when they think no one's watching. They take. But that wasn't the worst part. Celestine bends down slowly, and for a moment Theron feels the familiar satisfaction of being right. Of course she'll take it. They always take it. Everyone has a price, and hers is probably lower than most. But then she picks up the bills one by one and places them carefully on the glass coffee table. Not in her pockets, not in her bag. She stacks them neatly, smoothing each one flat, making a careful pile. Her hands are shaking, but she doesn't stop. She gathers every single bill from the floor, from the couch, even the ones that landed near his desk. When she's done, she steps back, hands at her sides. I can't accept this, sir. Theron stares at her. Excuse me? It's very kind, but I can't accept it. It wouldn't be right. You can't accept $10,000? You're homeless. I'm temporarily unhoused, sir. There's a difference. Celestine's voice is still quiet, but there's something solid underneath it now. I'm working. I earn my money. This is more than you'll make in 6 months of cleaning. I know.
Well, sir, you could get a room, real food, new clothes. Yes, sir. But you won't take it? No, sir, I can't. Theron feels something crack in his chest, something he didn't know was still intact. Why not? Celestine finally meets his eyes just for a moment. Because it's not mine. And because you're trying to prove something about people, and I don't want to be another reason you stop believing in us. The room goes completely silent. Theron can hear his own heartbeat. The distant hum of traffic 40 floors below. The quiet sound of Celestine's breathing, uneven and tired. Get out, Theron says. Sir, get out, you're fired. Go! Celestine nods once, picks up her cleaning supplies and walks toward the door. She doesn't argue, she doesn't beg, she just leaves, a canvas bag over her shoulder,
and her too big uniform hanging off her thin frame. The door clicks shut. Theron stands alone in his $40 million penthouse, surrounded by $10,000 in cash scattered across the furniture. And for the first time in 15 years, he feels something break open inside him. Theron doesn't sleep that night. He pours the expensive whiskey down the sink and sits in his office watching the city lights blur and sharpen through the window. Celestine's words loop in his head like a song he can't forget. I don't want to be another reason you stop believing in us. By sunrise, Theron is on the phone with Lennox. Find her, Theron says. Sir? The cleaning woman from last night, Celestine. I need her name, her address, everything. Mr. Ashford, I'm not sure that's... I pay you $250,000 a year to not be sure. Find her. Lennox finds her by noon, Celestine Mora. 52 years old. Last known address was an apartment in the Bronx, evicted 8 months ago. Current residence, Mount Hope Women's Shelter, but she hasn't checked in for 3 nights. Works for Pristine Solutions cleaning service, but she called in this morning and quit. She quit rather than risk seeing him again. Theron reads the file Lennox compiled. Before the eviction, Celestine worked as a hospice nurse for 17 years. She lost her job when the facility closed down, lost her apartment when she couldn't pay rent, lost her daughter, the file says estranged, 2 years before that. No family listed, no emergency contacts, There's a photo from her nursing license. She's younger in it, smiling, wearing scrubs with cartoon bears on them. She looks like someone who's used to caring for people, used to being needed. Now she sleeps in shelters and cleans homes for $11 an hour. Theron calls the shelter. They tell him she hasn't been there. He calls the cleaning service. They tell him she turned in her uniform and didn't say where she was going. He sends Lennox to the train stations, the libraries, the places the file says she's been spotted before. Nothing. For 3 days, Theron searches. He cancels meetings. He ignores calls from his lawyers about the merger with Hexagon Industries. He walks through parts of the city he's never seen before, places where the buildings are crumbling and the streets smell like garbage and despair. He's searching for a woman he threw money at like she was nothing. On the 4th day, Lennox calls. "I found her. Port Authority. I'm lower level." Theron is there in 20 minutes. She's sitting on a bench near the subway entrance, her canvas bag beside her, her head resting against the tile wall. She's not asleep. Her eyes are open, staring at nothing. There's a cardboard sign propped against her bag. "Anything helps, God bless." Theron's chest tightens. He walks over slowly, carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. Celestine. She looks up, and for a moment, something like fear crosses her face. Then it's gone, replaced by that careful blankness he recognizes now as armor. "Mr. Ashford." "Can I sit?" She hesitates, then nods. Theron sits on the bench beside her. It's dirty and cold, and the station smells like urine and old coffee. People walk past without looking at them. A man in a suit, a teenager with headphones, a mother dragging 2 small children. None of them see Celestine. She's invisible here too. "I've been looking for you," Theron says. "Why?" "Because I owe you an apology." Celestine shakes her head. "You don't owe me anything, sir." "I do. What I did was cruel. I was testing you, and that wasn't fair. You came to do a job, and I treated you like an experiment." "I'm used to it." The words hit him harder than he expected. "What?" "People like you always test people like me. You want to see if we're really poor or just pretending, if we really need help or if we're scamming, if we deserve kindness or if we're just too lazy to work." Celestine's voice is tired, worn down to nothing. "I stopped being surprised by it a long time ago." Theron feels shame, real and burning for the first time in years. Why didn't you take the money?" "Because money like that always comes with strings, and because I've seen what happens to people who take shortcuts. They lose themselves." She looks at him directly now, her eyes clear and steady. "I've lost almost everything, Mr. Ashford. My home, my job, my daughter. But I haven't lost who I am. That money would have cost me more than you know." "Your daughter," Theron says quietly. "The file said you're estranged." Celestine's face changes, something crumbling behind the armor. "Estranged, that's one word for it. What's another word?" She's quiet for a long time. Around them the station pulses with life. Trains arriving and departing, announcements crackling over the speakers, footsteps echoing on tile. Finally, she speaks. "Her name is Delia. She's 28. Smart. Beautiful."
Angry. Celestine's voice cracks. "When I lost my job, I couldn't help her anymore. She was in grad school studying to be a teacher. I'd been paying her rent, her tuition. When the money stopped, she had to drop out. She said I ruined her life. She said I was selfish, that I should have planned better, saved more. She stopped answering my calls. That was 2 years ago. Have you tried to contact her? Every week, emails, texts. She blocked my number 6 months ago." Celestine wipes her eyes quickly, roughly. I don't blame her. She's right. I should have been smarter. I should have protected us better. That's not true, isn't it? Celestine looks at him, and her eyes are full of a pain so deep it makes Theron's own losses feel small.
What kind of mother lets her daughter lose everything because she couldn't keep a job? The kind who worked as a hospice nurse for 17 years. The kind who still shows up for every shift, even when she's sleeping on trains. The kind who wouldn't take free money because it went against her principles. Theron's throat is tight. You didn't fail your daughter, the world failed you. Celestine laughs, but it's broken, hollow. That's easy to say when you're a billionaire. You're right. It is. Theron stands up, then holds out his hand. Come with me. What? Please, just trust me for 1 hour. If you don't like what I have to say, I'll leave you alone. But give me 1 hour. Celestine looks at his hand like it's a trap. And maybe it is. Maybe this is another test. But after a moment, she takes it, and Theron helps her stand. When they sit in a quiet diner 3 blocks away. Theron orders coffee and eggs and toast, then realizes Celestine isn't eating. She's just holding the coffee cup like it's a source of warmth, staring at the food like she's forgotten what to do with it. When's the last time you ate? Theron asks. Yesterday. Eat, please. Celestine picks up the toast, takes a small bite. Then another. Then she's eating like she's starving, which she probably is. And Theron has to look away because the guilt is crushing him. When she's done, he slides a folder across the table. What's this? Celestine asks. A contract. I want to hire you. To clean? No, to work for me. Personal assistant, consultant, whatever you want to call it. Salary is $200,000 a year, plus housing, plus benefits. Full medical, dental, vision, retirement plan.
Everything. Celestine stares at the folder like it's a bomb. Why? Because I need someone I can trust, and you're the only person in 15 years who's proven you can't be bought. That's not a good reason. It's the best reason. Theron leans forward. I'm tired, Celestine. I'm tired of being surrounded by people who only see my money. I'm tired of testing everyone, of waiting for them to betray me. I'm tired of being right about how terrible people are. You showed me something different. You showed me there are still people who have principles, even when it costs them everything. I'm not special, Celestine says quietly. I'm just trying to survive. With dignity, with integrity. That's rare. That's worth everything. What no one noticed was the way Celestine's hands started trembling, holding the folder,
and her eyes scanning the contract like she's reading a foreign language. This is real, she whispers. It's real. You start tomorrow if you want. I'll have Lennox set up an apartment for you today. Furnished, paid for, everything. You pick the neighborhood. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. You don't even know me. I know enough. Theron's voice softens. I know you're a hospice nurse who spent 17 years caring for dying people. I know you're a mother who paid for her daughter's education even when you were barely surviving yourself. I know you're someone who values who you are more than what you have. That's more than I know about anyone else in my life. Celestine is crying now, silent tears running down her face.
What if I disappoint you? You won't. What if I'm not good at this? Then we'll figure it out together. She looks at him, really looks at him, and Theron sees the exact moment she decides to trust him. It's terrifying and beautiful, like watching someone step off a cliff and hoping they'll fly. Okay, Celestine says. Okay, I'll try. Theron feels something warm and unfamiliar spread through his chest. Hope, maybe. Or redemption. Or just the simple relief of having done one good thing after years of doing nothing but taking. "Thank you," he says. "For what?" "For giving me a second chance." The transformation. That single moment changed everything. Within a week, Celestine moves into a 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood with good light and a view of a small park. Lennox helps her shop for furniture, clothes, everything she needs. Theron sets up a bank account in her name with the first month's salary already deposited. Celestine cries when she sees the numbers. "This is more than I made in a year as a nurse," she says. "You're worth it," Theron tells her. At first, Celestine doesn't know what to do. She shows up at Theron's office every morning at 7, an hour early, with coffee for both of them. She takes notes on everything. She organizes his schedule, fields his calls, learns the names of all his business partners and their assistants birthdays. She's meticulous, careful, terrified of making a mistake. But more than that, she's kind. When Theron snaps at a junior executive for missing a deadline, Celestine pulls him aside afterward and quietly suggests he apologize. "Fear doesn't make people work better," she says. It just makes them hide their mistakes." She's right. Theron apologizes and the executive nearly faints from shock. When Theron's daughter Kenna calls asking for money, again, Celestine listens to his frustrated rant, then says, "When's the last time you talked to her about something other than money?" Theron doesn't have an answer. "Call her back," Celestine says gently. "Ask her about her life. Listen, don't fix anything. Just listen." Theron calls Kenna and listens. Really listens. They talk for an hour, and by the end, Kenna is crying and thanking him, and Theron realizes he hasn't had a real conversation with his daughter in 3 years. Slowly, Celestine becomes more than an assistant. She becomes a conscience, a mirror, a reminder that there's more to life than winning and accumulating and protecting what's his. One night, 2 months after she started, Theron works late on a contract negotiation with a small tech startup. The founders are young, brilliant, and desperate. They need his investment or they'll lose everything. Theron's lawyers have drafted terms that give him 80% equity in exchange for $10 million. It's a steal. It's also brutal. Celestine reads the contract and sets it down. "This isn't fair," she says. "It's business. It's cruel. These people are giving you their life's work for scraps. They came to me. They need the money. So you're going to take advantage of that? Is that who you want to be?" Theron feels anger flash through him, the old instinct to defend himself, to remind her that he's the billionaire and she's the former homeless woman who's only here because of his charity. But then he sees the look on her face, disappointed, sad, like she expected better from him, and the anger dissolves into shame. "What should I do?" he asks. "Offer them 49% equity. Let them keep control of their company. Structure the deal so everyone wins. I'll make less money. You'll make enough. And they'll succeed. And you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror." Theron rewrites the contract. The founders cry when they see the new terms. They call him a miracle. They call him fair. They call him a partner, not a predator. That night, Theron goes home and looks at himself in the mirror for the first time in years. He looks tired, old, but maybe finally human. 3 months into Celestine's employment, Theron calls her into his office and closes the door. "I did something," he says. "Or did I need to tell you before you find out another way?" Celestine's face goes pale. "What?" "I found your daughter."
The room goes silent except for the hum of the air conditioning, the distant sound of traffic from the street below. You what? Delia, I hired an investigator. She's living in New Jersey, working as a substitute teacher. She's struggling, Celestine, barely making rent, still angry, still hurt. But she misses you. Celestine stands up, and for a moment, Theron thinks she's going to slap him. Instead, she just stands there, shaking. You had no right, she whispers. I know. That's my daughter, my life. You can't just... I know I'm sorry, but I couldn't watch you hurt like that and do nothing. So you what? Investigated her? Spied on her? I talked to her. Celestine goes completely still. What, you talked to her? I called her, told her who I was, told her about you, about how hard you're working, how much you miss her, about how everything you did was to protect her, to give her a better life. What did she say? Theron takes an envelope from his desk and hands it to Celestine. She wrote you a letter. She asked me to give it to you. She said she's not ready to see you yet, but she wants to talk, if you want to. Celestine takes the envelope with trembling hands. She stares at it like it's the most precious thing in the world. Why would you do this? She asks, her voice breaking. Because you gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever. You gave me faith in people, in kindness, in the idea that not everyone is out to hurt me. I wanted to give you something back.
Something that matters. Celestine opens the envelope carefully, like it might fall apart in her hands. She reads the letter, and tears stream down her face, silent and unstoppable. When she's done, she looks up at Theron, and her eyes are full of something he's never seen before. Gratitude, yes. But also love, the kind of love that's earned through showing up, through caring, through seeing someone not as a tool or a test, but as a person. Thank you, she whispers. You're welcome. No, Theron, thank you for everything. It's the first time she's used his first name. The formality between them dissolves, replaced by something real, something human. Read it to me, Theron says gently. If you want. You don't have to, but I want to. Celestine wipes her eyes and unfolds the letter again. Her voice shakes as she reads. Mum.
I don't know how to start this. Mr. Ashford called me last week and told me what happened. Told me where you've been, what you've been through. I've been so angry at you for so long, and I thought I had every right to be. But hearing him talk about you, about how you turned down $10,000 because you didn't want to lose who you are, I realized I'd been blaming you for things that weren't your fault. You didn't ruin my life. I ruined ours by being too proud and too angry to see how hard you were fighting. I miss you. I'm not ready to see you yet. I need more time to work through my feelings. But I want to talk. I want to try. If you want to try too, I love you. I never stopped. Delia. By the time Celestine finishes reading, they're both crying. Theron, who hasn't cried since his father's funeral 20 years ago, sits in his office and weeps for this woman who lost everything and still held on to her dignity, who gave him back his humanity. She wants to talk, Celestine says, laughing and crying at the same time. She wants to try. So call her. Now, use my office. Take all the time you need. Celestine looks at him, and without thinking, she crosses the room and hugs him. It's awkward and unexpected, and Theron stiffens for a moment before relaxing into it. She smells like the lavender soap from her apartment, and coffee, and hope. Thank you, she whispers again. Thank you for seeing me. The months that follow are different than anything Theron has experienced in his entire life. Celestine talks to Delia every week, Long conversations that start stiff and painful and slowly soften into something that looks like healing. Adelia agrees to meet for coffee, then for lunch. Then she visits Celestine's apartment, and they spend an entire Saturday cooking together, relearning each other's rhythms. It's not perfect. They fight. Delia still carries anger, and Celestine still carries guilt. But they're trying, and that's enough. Meanwhile, Theron's life shifts in ways he never expected. He starts listening to Celestine's advice not just about contracts, but about people. When his son Rhett calls asking for help starting a business, Theron doesn't just write a check. He sits down with him and helps him write a business plan. He introduces him to mentors. He shows up, really shows up, for the first time in his son's adult life. When his brother tries to reconcile after years of silence, Theron doesn't slam the door. He listens. He sets boundaries. He offers cautious forgiveness. He restructures his business practices, creating employee profit-sharing programs and raising wages for the lowest-paid workers in his companies. His board of directors thinks he's lost his mind. His accountants warn him about decreased profit margins, but Theron doesn't care. He sleeps better at night knowing the people who work for him can afford to feed their families. He donates to homeless shelters, hospice organizations, programs that help displaced workers. He does it quietly, without press releases or tax incentives. He does it because Celestine showed him that dignity matters more than recognition. 1 year after he hired Celestine, Theron's company is featured in a business magazine. The headline reads, "The Billionaire Who Learned to Be Human." The article talks about his transformation, his new business practices, his reconciliation with his family. They interview employees who say he's kinder now, more approachable. They interview his daughter Kenna, who says, "I got my dad back." The article mentions Celestine only briefly. Ashford credits much of his change to his personal assistant, a former hospice nurse who helped him rediscover his humanity. But Theron knows the truth. Celestine didn't help him rediscover his humanity. She saved it. 2 years after Celestine started working for Theron, he calls her into his office on a Wednesday morning. It's raining outside, the kind of steady rain that makes the city look soft and grey. Celestine arrives with coffee and a smile that's become familiar, comfortable. "Sit down," Theron says. "I have something for you." If this is another raise, I'm going to feel guilty.
You already pay me too much. It's not a raise. Theron slides a folder across the desk. Open it. Celestine opens the folder and goes silent. Inside is a deed to a house, a real house, 3 bedrooms, a yard, in a neighborhood with good schools and trees that turn gold in autumn. Theron, I can't. Yes, you can. It's yours. Paid in full. No mortgage. Delia's lease is up next month, and I thought maybe she could move in with you. Or you could rent the extra rooms. Or you could just have space for the first time in years. This is too much. It's not enough. Theron's voice is firm but gentle. You changed my life, Celestine. You showed me what real strength looks like. What real integrity looks like. I was drowning in money and isolation, and you threw me a lifeline. Let me give you something back.
Let me give you a home. Celestine stares at the deed, tears falling onto the paper. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll stop punishing yourself for things that weren't your fault. Say you'll let yourself have something good. Celestine looks up at him, and her eyes are full of every emotion Theron has learned to name since she came into his life. Gratitude, disbelief, hope, love. Yes, she whispers. Yes, thank you. You're welcome. And Celestine? Yeah? Delia's downstairs in the lobby. I called her this morning and asked if she wanted to see the house with you. She said yes. She's waiting. Celestine's hands fly to her mouth. She's here? She's here. Go, take the day off. Take the week. Take whatever time you need. Go see your house with your daughter. Celestine stands up so fast she almost knocks over her chair. As she starts toward the door, then turns back and grabs Theron's hand. "You're a good man," she says fiercely. "I know you don't believe that, but you are. You always were. You just forgot for a while. I'm glad you remembered." Then she's gone, running toward the elevator, toward her daughter, toward a future that isn't defined by what she lost, but by what she's found. Theron sits alone in his office, listening to the rain, and for the first time in 15 years, he smiles. Really smiles. The kind of smile that reaches all the way to the broken places inside him and starts to piece them back together. 5 years later, Theron stands in front of a crowd of reporters and cameras, announcing his retirement from active management of his companies. He's passing control to a board that includes profit-sharing models, employee representation, or an ethical oversight. His wealth, he announces, will be slowly redistributed through a foundation focused on housing, healthcare, and job training for displaced workers. The business world calls him crazy. His competitors say he's gone soft. Wall Street analysts predict his companies will fail without his ruthless leadership. But Theron doesn't care. He's standing on the stage, and in the front row sits Celestine, wearing a blue dress that Delia helped her pick out. Next to her is Delia herself, 6 months pregnant, glowing. Next to Delia is her husband, a kind man who teaches math at a public school. And next to them are Theron's own children, Kenna, Rhett, and his youngest, Celine. Together for the first time in a decade, not because they have to be, but because they want to be. After the press conference, they all go to Celestine's house, the house Theron gave her, the house that's become a gathering place for this patchwork family they've built out of brokenness and second chances. They eat dinner around a table that's too small for all of them, elbows bumping, passing dishes, laughing. Theron's grandson, Kenna's son, 5 years old, spills juice on Theron's shirt, and instead of getting angry, Theron just laughs and helps clean it up. Later, when the dishes are cleared and the others are in the living room, Celestine finds Theron standing in the backyard, looking at the trees. "Thank you for coming," she says. "Thank you for inviting me. You know this is your house too, right? Your family." Theron's throat tightens. "Family. Family," Celestine repeats firmly. "The kind you choose."
You say the kind that chooses you back. They stand in comfortable silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. Somewhere inside, someone is playing music. Theron can hear his daughter laughing, his grandson asking for another cookie, Delia's husband telling a bad joke that somehow makes everyone laugh anyway. "Do you ever think about that night?" Celestine asks quietly. "The money on the floor? Every day. Do you regret it?" Theron considers the question. "I regret what I did, but I don't regret where it led us." "Me neither." "You saved me," Theron says. "You know that, right?" Celestine shakes her head. "We saved each other. And maybe that's the truest thing either of them has ever said. Because Theron gave Celestine a home, a job, a path back to her daughter.
But Celestine gave Theron something more valuable than any of his billions. She gave him back his ability to trust, to love, to believe that people can be good even when it costs them everything. She gave him back his humanity. They walk back inside together toward the warmth and noise and messy, beautiful chaos of a family that shouldn't exist but does. A family built not on blood or obligation, but on the radical act of choosing to see each other as human, as worthy, as enough. And somewhere in the city, in shelters and subway stations, on cold benches and under flickering lights, there are other people like Celestine used to be. People who are invisible, overlooked, underestimated. People who carry dignity in their pockets like loose change, who protect their principles even when it costs them everything. We'll get Theron's foundation will find some of them. We'll offer jobs, housing, second chances. We'll see them not as problems to solve, but as people to honor. Because Celestine taught him that the measure of a person isn't what they have or what they've lost. It's who they are when everything is stripped away. It's the choices they make when no one's watching. It's the strength it takes to refuse easy money because accepting it would cost something more valuable, themselves. And that lesson, Theron knows, is worth more than $47 billion. It's worth everything.